Om. 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 Sahana vavatu. Sahanau bhunaktu. Saha viryam karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu. Ma vidvishavahai. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sairam, everyone. Just to put things into perspective, we are doing the Narada Bhakti Sutras. So far, we have looked at 47 sutras. Last week, we looked at two of them. At the moment, we are in a group of sutras which are classified as Bhakti Sadhanani. That means they are the instruments of Bhakti. And that's where we are today. We will look at three more. With that, actually, that section will be complete today. So, we were looking at last time, there was this question, who crosses the ocean, who crosses the ocean? That was 2 weeks before we looked at. Who gives up company and who serves the elders or the noblest. And then last week, we looked at also who looks at who finds a solitary place and so on. Okay, and who will also be beyond the three gunas, and who will also not be involved in accumulation and preservation of anything in this world. Those are through which the devotion is further enhanced or cultivated. And today we are looking at two more instructions and then affirmation, declaration that such persons will cross this ocean. We also will look at those three today. Yaha karma phalam tyajati karmani sanyasyati tato nirdvando bhavati. Yaha karma phalam tyajati karmani sanyasyati tato nirdvandvo bhavati. Yaha karma phalam tyajati karmani sanyasyati tato nirdvandvo bhavati. We will look at any aspects related to the pronunciation. Karma phalam. This pa is the second letter in the pa varga. So karma phalam. The pa is pronounced as pa. There are people who pronounce it as fa also. In the purest point of view, that fa is not a Sanskrit sound because pa and pa. An aspirated pa is pa. And so that's considered the more accurate pronunciation of that letter. Karma phalam yajati. Karmani sanyasyati. There are no aspirated consonants. Tato dvandvo, nirdvandvo is also there are no aspirated consonants. Bhavati, which we had looked at last week's also in the previous occasions, that bha is aspirated bha, so we pay attention to it. We look at the sandhi split. Yaha karma phalam tyajati karmani sanyasyati. There are no sandhi related changes in any of this. Tatha, he has become tato. Tato is due to Sandhi, but the original word is Tataha. Tataha, the Visarga changes into U, and so later becomes To. Ta plus U becomes To. So Visarga has become actually U. Nirdvandvaha also becomes Nirdvandvo. That is, the Vaha at the end becomes Vo. That means the Visarga becomes A. So Va plus, so the Visarga becomes U. So the Va plus U becomes Vo. Okay, Nirdvandvo Bhavati. So the two Sandhi related changes in the sutra. We look at the word to word meaning. Yaha. Yaha means who. I mean something like whoever. I think maybe I will, because sometimes Kaha also gets confused, so I put whoever. So whoever refers to someone who does something to become something or do something. So yaha, whoever. Karma phalam. I think all of you would easily understand the meaning. Karma is action, phalam is fruits. So fruits of actions. Okay, karma phalam means fruits of actions. Tyajati. Tyajati means giving up. Tyaja, we have already looked at Tyaja Durjana Sangha and all that. So that means giving up the fruits of action. Whoever gives up the fruits of action. Karmani means actions. Actions. Sanyasyati. Sanyasyati means one who renounces. Renounces karmani, actions. So generally you'd say, so that means that a person should be inactive, not doing any work. No, actually that this karmani refers to actions done with the desire for fruits, because which are capable of binding. So these have to be renounced. So the real devotee renounces karmani, any activity which has fruits of action, fruits of those actions in their mind. Whoever renounces. So that means the sadhana itself of a devotee is to renounce the fruits of actions, not engage, renounce actions which have an eye on the fruits. Tataha. Tataha means then. Then that devotee, when the devotee becomes nirdvandva. Dvandva is opposites of the pair of opposites. The pair of opposites are like pain and pleasure, happiness and sorrow, night and day, cold and hot. All these are considered dvandva, pair of opposites. Okay. So nirdvandva means he will be free from those pair of opposites. Okay. Bhavati means is. So it also shows that a devotee should strive to become free from the pair of opposites. When does that happen? When the person renounces the fruits of actions or gives up fruits of actions, also renounces actions which are performed with the fruits as one of the goals, such or something which they would want to attain. Such people will become nirdvandva. That is, they will be free from the pair of opposites. So those are sadhanas which a devotee has to adhere to. In one of the verses which Swami has composed, he says, it's supposed to be when Swami declared to his brother about this avatarhood, and replying to one of the letters which the brother had written to Swami. Swami says, Manchi Chettalanu Kuda Manasulo Samamuga Bhavinchuchuntre Bhakti Naku. That means in your mind, who will treat good and bad as equal. Samamuga Bhavinchuchuntre. So it's the same concept. So by doing that, one becomes a devotee. So we'll look at a few excerpts of Swami's discourses. 1 second. The special characteristics of humanity among all created beings is the power of wisdom with discrimination. Viveka. One is therefore bound to act always using the discriminating capacity. But two forces are putting obstacles in the way. The ignorant who prompt toward inaction and the teachers of Sankhya. The first set of people, though they may desist from activity through their senses, are unable to withdraw their minds and continue to commit acts in their minds. So their inactivity is meaningless and unreal. It is relatively or apparently, but not absolutely true. The Sankhya's use a number of arguments against action. Action causes both good and evil, so it is said. The wise must give up all actions. In the Gita, Krishna met this argument and showed the way to get the good out of action and avoid the evil. The Sankhya's further say that action results in a mixture of pain and pleasure, of benefit and loss, and it leads the doer to heaven, to hell, or back again to earth. That is to say, to bondage of some sort. So they ask people to give up action and take to inaction. The Gita has a reply for this also. Action will bring about bondage only when it is engaged in with a view to the fruit thereof. When done without any thought of the fruit, on the other hand, it leads to liberation, moksha itself. Why? Even liberated persons engage in action, although they do not derive any benefit therefrom, just to promote the welfare of the world. Or rather, whatever a liberated person does must automatically be conducive to the welfare of the world. Action has to be engaged in. That is the means of securing the peace already won. This is from chapter 25 of Prashanti Vagini, Swami. It's titled Action Rather Than Inaction, where Swami is nicely speaking about giving up the fruits of action, but not action which is free from, which one should not give up action, which is free from any taint of desire for the fruits, but not necessarily action itself. So as Swami has said, people who sometimes think they are not doing anything, in their mind they are performing action. So if they are performing in their mind, then that's not freedom from action. This has been very beautifully taught by Sri Krishna in chapter 5 also. So anyone interested in studying it further. We will look at another excerpt of Swami. Though the path of karma is difficult, it gives us varied experiences. There are three kinds of karma, namely karma, vikarma, and akarma. According to the Gita, these are three ramifications. Karma may be described as the ordained duty. Vikarma deals with certain actions that are prohibited. But such prohibited actions, if and when they are undertaken for God realization, become sanctified. Akarma is described as pure laziness or idleness. The karmas are clarified by the Gita and must be enforced in action and not merely talked about. Karma is our responsibility since our birth. The Gita refers to man as karmaja. Man is born through and for karma. Moksha or liberation and janma or birth are all derived from karma. It is not possible for us to spend 1 minute without karma. Though it takes a gross physical form, action helps us to spend our time usefully. I will stop here. Yes, Sister Aruna, you have a question.
Brother, we have learned about this karma. The vikarma deals with the action that are prohibited. Is that any example you can give us, please? Is that is related with the gunas too?
No, sister. So Swami is saying vikarma generally certain actions are prohibited by. See, the classic question is, I'll just give one example because this is actually from Gita Vahini. So we have studied, we have discussed and studied. See, vikarma is, see, for example, Arjuna has to engage in fight in the war, and as a result, he may even kill people. So Arjuna was a bit troubled by that, even though in the past, before that, he had engaged in wars and people have died and so on. So that's an action which generally one should not indulge in, killing itself. But then Arjuna says, yes, may be true, but for the sake of dharma, establishing dharma, a kshatriya has to engage in war. Okay. But the thing is, if that is done as a part of dharma and as a part of essential activity, as an offering to God Himself, why it's an offering to God? You are doing that action only for establishing dharma, without even then without having any thought on the fruit of action, which is victory itself. When somebody performs that, one will be protected from that. See, that's why Krishna is saying, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Praja. Okay, you take refuge under me, then I will take care of you. Aham sarva papepyoho moksha. So he's giving that assurance. That assurance is for Arjuna given so that he undertakes action, thinking of the Lord, not worrying about what will be the action, the fruits, dedicating every act in the war to the Lord. Through that process, that activity itself becomes sanctified because the Lord will look after the devotee. So I think I'll just give you one extreme example. So in life, there may be various activities which people may undertake, not out of their own desire for something or out of a desire to hurt others. Generally, any himsa, is anything which can hurt others can be. For example, you can even do, many people do fasting or vratam or something like that, which is actually a form of himsa to the body. But it is still prescribed as a duty by many people, many uh, uh, rishis, I would say. Why? It is done only for the sake of liberating oneself, for the sake of bringing about discipline, not for any other purpose. So I think it all depends on what the mind thinks, what the intention is, and through that process, even such activity can also become sanctified. Is what I think. My understanding. I will stop here. I hope it's.
Thank you, brother. Sorry.
Sarah. You'll continue. Oh, yes, Brother Hasan.
Sairam, brother. When we study in the Gita Vagni, the karma, the karma divided into three, that niskama karma, sahaya karma, vikarma. So here, they're saying karma, this is the three kind, yeah, karma, vikarma, and akarma. Can you relate it to that again a little bit, brother?
Yeah, so I think Gitavani we discussed this extensively. Even though I have accepted from the English version here, it's in the Telugu version. Slightly there are some differences. Swami is talking about akarma, vikarma, and karma. Okay, karma is all that is prescribed action. What the Vedas prescribed, one has to perform are all karmas. Vikarma, as Swami has said here, vikarma, actions which should not be performed. But if they are performed with, dedicated to the God for the purpose of self-realization, they would become sanctified. Akarma, Swami says, not inaction per se. The way Swami has explained, akarma is not giving up action. Swami gives a slightly different meaning. What he says is when one is in the state of Atman, so that means one identifies oneself with Atman and then perform activities, that is akarma. That's a meaning Swami had given. That means every activity where one identifies oneself with the Atman and knowing that one is not the doer, when someone performs like that, they fall under the category of akarma. So that means even though they are doing acts, they are not doing the activities. Because the Atman never does the activity. Because Atman itself will never identify with an activity. So I think that's the explanation Swami had given for akarma. The word akarma has to be understood as one performing actions while identifying oneself with the Atman. So I will.
Sairam, brother, but here it says he is laziness or idleness. That means no karma. Occur is a negation of karma, right?
Yes.
So
I
that
think
is the akarma, the explanation that you are now giving, that a person identified with Atma is something different now.
yes, we will finish the rest of the excerpt
Okay.
and then we will come back, sister. Okay. As long as we have 5 senses of our body properly functioning, we cannot but undertake some type of action or the other. Action will always lead to a reward or a fruit. The fruit of action is reaction, a reflection, and a resound of the action itself. But the Gita teaches us that actions we undertake for God realization must be free from any consideration for a reward or a fruit. All those who propagate the message of the Gita say that man has only the right to act, but has no the right to claim the fruit of that action. But the Gita has not said that man has no authority to enjoy the fruit of the action. The Gita has said that man should voluntarily give up the right to enjoy the fruits of the action. It has not said na phaleshu, or there's no fruit. It has said that ma phaleshu, though there is the fruit, the injunction is that you must give up the desire for the fruit of action. It is also described in our sacred Vedas that man achieves real happiness by voluntarily giving up the desire for the fruit. One ponders over how man can enjoy through sacrifice. Without tyaga or sacrifice, we cannot have either bhoga or yoga, but have only roga or disease. Take the example of our inhaling. After we inhale, if we do not exhale, the air that we have inhaled, the lungs will be damaged. Similarly, our stomach will be upset if we do not excrete the food we have taken. If the blood that flows through the arteries does not flow through a particular point of the body, it will be stagnant there, and then we will get a boil. Therefore, all our welfare is inextricably tied up with the tyaga or sacrifice. If the child does not register natural growth, the mother gets very anxious about it. We are giving up the body that we inherit at the time of birth, and by growing, we sacrifice the original state and attain the new one. Whether we do it knowingly or unknowingly, tyaga leads us to happiness. Sacrifice gives us supreme satisfaction. Knowingly, we may not be able to do any sacrifice, but doing it consciously leads to great happiness. We do not know when this body made up of the 5 sense organs will drop off. Though they say that 100 years is the limit, do not believe it. We may die in childhood, in youth, in middle age, or in old age. This we do not know. Whether we will die in our own village or in the wilderness, we do not know. Death is the ultimate certainty. The wise man must realize the truth and death during his lifetime. If you give up this Deha Bhranti, the body illusion, during your lifetime, you'll be able to develop the higher notion, Tyaga Bhranti. There must be a limit up to which you may nourish this body, which can be compared to a boat. Your life is the river. On one side of the river is this world, and on the other side is the other world. You have undertaken a voyage from this world to the other world, using the body as the boat, and you must take care of this body until you reach the other shore. This body must be looked upon as a boat, as a means to an end, and not as an end in itself. We must take the Bhagavad Gita as the basis for knowing what perfect bliss is. God, who is Mahakarma Swarupa, has assumed the Karma Rupa and appears as Krishna. When Krishna is a Karma Rupa, is delivering a message, Arjuna takes the Sthula Rupa, gross form. As long as Arjuna listened to the Gita in the gross form, he was not able to comprehend its significance. Arjuna prayed to the Lord to remove that great veil which was born in the Sthula Rupa, and only when it was removed could he assimilate Gita. All that Arjuna experienced was the result of that Sthula Rupa. Arjuna became subject to the great agony in his mind because he was thinking of the people in front of him to be important as his kith and kin, and as his forefathers, as his fathers, as his brothers, and others of the same family. Later, Arjuna was able to absorb the spirit of the message of Gita, that he was able to have a glimpse of the Vishwarupa. Dhritarashtra also listened to the same Gita. He could not find any wisdom because he simply listened to it in his Sthula Rupa. When we listen to anything, we must listen to it in our awakened consciousness. What we gather through our ears is not enough, but we should try to meditate upon it and then assimilate it into our own system. Only then it gives us real nourishment. Enlightenment and enjoyment. All our enjoyment must be classified into three parts: Priya, Pramoda, and Moda. When we look at an object that is after our own liking and feel happy about it, it is Priya. Moda is the joy we feel when we acquire the object we like. Pramoda is the higher joy, the joy we feel at what we have really acquired. Today we use the word Priya in a meaningless manner. Priya means only looking at the object and not getting it or enjoy. We must develop that attitude of Pramoda, and through Pramoda develop Priya toward the object. We cannot enjoy real happiness through Priya and Moda. You want to have a darshan of the form of God. If you only look at it, it is Priya. And it does not give you much satisfaction. If you try to gain and master it, it gives you greater happiness. When you are able to gain and master it, it gives greatest happiness. When you are able to enjoy it completely, you become a part of it, and vice versa. You do not get your stomach filled when you look at a sweet in the shop. But when you have the sweet in your hand, you have the guarantee that you can eat it at any time. But it is only half the achievement when you have the sweet in your hand, and whilst talking to some friend, a monkey may come and snatch it away. You cannot be absolutely sure of enjoying it. You get full satisfaction only after eating it, after it becomes a part of the digestive system. The sadhana involved here is that it's no use at a sweet, but you should buy it, eat it, assimilate it, and make it part of your system. That gives you full happiness. You must always conduct your enquiry in such a way that the object you see becomes a part of your body by proper enjoyment and assimilation. This is described as stepwise discipline. Following the right discipline leads to duty. If you look at a sweet and snatch it, it may amount to theft and acquisition in an improper manner. If you have the money, you pay the price and purchase sweet. If the desire to eat is strong and you do not have the money, you may request the shopkeeper to give you one. He will give you one. Similarly, when you want to taste the moksha and feel you do not have sufficient strength, you may pray to God. And God, in His great mercy, will give you the needed faculty. That which you can procure in this manner is truth. Truth can be easily gained. You should never give up the habit of discipline. Only when you reach the state of perfection, you do not have to think of regulation or discipline. You must carry on your duties and responsibilities as long as you remain in these ashrams, beginning from brahmacharya and ending with sannyasa. If you want to build a house in the village, you require the permission of the department that controls it. If you want to roam in the forest, you may not require any permission from any office. On the other hand, as long as you are living in a society, you must necessarily discharge all your responsibilities that are built around the society. Even the sannyasi and the brahmachari have their own duties set aside for each of them. Today, we find great agitation for rights, but very few people discharge their duties and realize their responsibilities. Remember that only when you are able to discharge your duties properly, you get the authority. You should not hanker after power without doing your duty. In order to attain and understand the divinity, we must undertake sadhana and behave in a way that is like the divine. This is the chief doctrine preached to Arjuna. Arjuna asked, after having killed my kith and kin, what can I do with this kingdom? Instead, I shall become a beggar and go about begging. Krishna asked, do you want to act according to your liking or according to my liking? If you want to follow your desire, then go as you please. But if you want to abide by the desire, that you must abide by what I say. It is for this divine discrimination in this matter. It is for the divine to discriminate in this matter and decide what is right and what is wrong. In Arjuna's thinking, greater importance has been given to the physical relationship of the body to body than a divine relationship between man and man. Any love that is related to the body has an element of selfishness in it. And this can be compared to an electric bulb we have in a room. The light of the bulb is limited by the walls of the room, and this is like selfish love. Love, if it's on a higher plane, can be compared to moonlight. There is, in that case, light within and without. This light too is hazy and not clear. Pure love, which is entirely selfless, is like sunshine. Sunlight gives us a clear view of all objects. God's love is the sunshine. Human love is like the moonlight. Individual love is like the bulb in the room. The rise from the individual love to get into the state of the rise from you rise from the individual love and get into the state of mutual love. This is a discourse actually given in 1972 by Swami. The same idea is the Gita also. Sister Aruna, for your question, akarma, I will come to that. When Swami says divine love is only possible when one identifies oneself with the divine. If one identifies with the body, one is bound by karma. The people who say akarma and not do any activity, earlier on in the discourse itself, Swami has said, people are resisting from physical action, but mentally they are active. That means the mind is identifying with action, even though the body is not performing it. The thing is, how do we get over that? Is by Swami says, identifying with the Atman. It is not coming through in the discourse, but I think in the Gita Vahini, if anyone reads, one will find it. Swami says, no one in this world can be free from action. Every moment. So I think that also Swami has told in the earlier part. Even for 1 minute, one can be without action, because if you're breathing, that's action. If there's blood flowing in our body, that's action. If we are thinking, that's also action. So all these actions. So one who is born in this world can never be free from any activity. So akarma is not a possibility if you think that akarma is inaction. Inaction is impossible for anyone who is alive. Only when we are dead, we will be free from that kind of action. So when that is so, akarma means detaching oneself from identification with the body which is engaging in action, mind which is engaging in action, mind and body both engage in action. Whereas the Atman is free from everything. Atman state is like when we sleep, we are one with the Atma. That means there is no mind, there is no activity in the body. One is one with the Atman. That state is only akarma. That's why Swami says akarma means also can be laziness. If you're just people sleeping and throughout the day, that's also they can say akarma. But the problem is tamas is quite heavy. That is only when that kind of sleep is not good.
So, brother, is it okay to say that akarma is a mind is active, not the body?
Not even mind.
Okay.
Mind should not
Because
be
it's identifying with the Atma. Okay. So realizing an Atma, then you see the body as a laziness that we see. Kind of.
See, the mind should see. You cannot see the Atman as long as the mind is active.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so mind should not be active. Body should not be active.
So we'll take, okay.
Okay, so
When identifying with the Atma is akarma. Okay.
So identify the Atman, but you can perform all actions. You mean the body may perform actions, the mind may think, but one should continuously be engaged in identifying with the Atman. Only that is signified by the word akarma, is the way Swami has explained. In
Thank you.
detail, we have to study the Gita Vahini.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
So I thought, we should understand what is this, because the word says karma, karmani sanyasyati. So everyone can say, oh, how can we give up action? Okay, no, that karmani means acting through the body or mind has to be given up. One should be identified with it, because the devotee always thinks of the Lord. Swami will give the example of gopis. Gopikas always thought of Krishna while doing all their work. But their mind was not thinking, if I do this, this will happen, this will not happen. Nothing like that. They were just engrossed in the thought of Krishna. So the mind became inactive from a worldly perspective. That's it is. So I will stop here. We'll go to the next sutra. Saira. Yo vedanapi sanyasyati kevalam avichinna anuragam. Kevalam avicchinnanuragam labhate. Yo vedanapi sanyasyati kevalam avicchinnanuragam labhate. Yo vedanapi sanyasyati kevalam avicchinnanuragam labhate. Now we look at letters which have to be paid attention to from a pronunciation perspective. Yo vedanapi sanyasyati, no aspirated consonants. Kevalam avichinna, this ch, the second, this ichi is there. The second cha is aspirated cha, which is the second letter in the cha varga or cha class of consonants. So pay attention. Avicchinnanuragam labhate. The bha again is like bhavati, the letter in the bha, its fourth letter in the pa varga has to be aspirated. So those are the two letters, consonants, which have to be paid attention to. We look at the sandhi split. Yo is nothing but yaha. Visarga becomes u, and ya plus u becomes yo. Vedan api, it's also sandhi. The in and a becomes na. Vedan api is vedan api. Sanyasyati, no changes to sandhi. Kevalam avicchinnanuragam is the kevalam and a from avichinna. And a becomes ma. So that's how you get kevalam avichinna. Again, chinna and anuragam become chinnanuragam. Again, na plus a becomes na. Okay. Kevalam avicchinnanuragam basically is kevalam avichinna anuragam. And the last word is labhate, no change. We'll look at the word to word meaning. Yah again, whoever. Vedan. So Vedan is plural of, from an object perspective. Vedaha is plural from a simple noun perspective. Vedan is the object form of the Vedas, Vedaha, which is called second vibhakti or second case affix, which means when Vedas are used as an object, it's Vedan. Okay. Api, even. Sanyasyati, renounces. Whoever renounces even the Vedas. Okay. Kevalam. Kevalam is becoming one solely. Okay. Also, it means exclusively, also, that kind of meaning. Okay. Exclusively. Kevalam avichinna. Chinna means something which is broken or cut. Okay. Avichinna means which is not cut, unbroken, continuous. Anuragam. Raga is attachment. Anuraga is also an infatuation, or you can say one who is a loving attractions. You become so attached. It's anuragam. Because anuragam is a bhava which Gopi is supposed to have had for Krishna. They loved Krishna so much. So that's considered anuraga. Labhate. Kevalam avichinna anuragam labhate. So by giving up even the Vedas, one develops what's called a continuous, unbroken state of loving affection to the Lord. So that is this sutra. So we will look at the excerpt of Swami, because I think people will say, oh, if Veda also have to be given up, what happens? Who can give up? So of course people can say, okay, then I will give up Veda, then I will have love. Things like that. So we'll read Swami's excerpts on this. Winning such perfect security requires following the path of full devotion, dedicating oneself to the Lord. It cannot be obtained by other means. The path of spiritual wisdom, jnana, is possible only for 1 in a million. It is beyond the reach of all. Is it possible to negate the body and the objective world? So, pattern to the senses by repeating not this, neti, neti. Unless this is possible, how can the not this argument be applied? Under present conditions, the path of wisdom is indeed very difficult. The path of selfless activity is also not quite so feasible. It is also full of difficulties. To work in the proper spirit, love and devotion are essential for success. The path of yoga or communion also bristles with obstacles. Thus, the path of devotion is the smoothest, the most conducive to success, and the most bliss yielding. Even this path of devotion cannot be defined and demarcated as such and such, since it has many forms, roads, and types of experience. It is impossible for anyone to describe it accurately and fully. Each devotee gets bliss only through the individual experience. Through the experience of other devotees, at best, they can get only encouragement and guidance. The experience changes from one person to another. So it eludes comparison and even description. If anyone describes it by examples and limits, be sure that their experience is not real. The limited soul is immersed in the limitless love of the Lord. And how can words describe the experience called by the Upanishads as the unbroken uniflow of sweetness? One cannot express that state of unbounded devotion in human language. But outward signs that can be cognized by the senses, one can feel that the devotee is in a high state of bliss. But who can gauge the depth of that joy? It has no relation with the senses at all. Devotion has to be realized in your own experience. Though great souls can illumine the path a little for you by their examples. With their help, you can grasp something of the path. But always remember that words fail when they approach the beyond. They are useful only for purposes of the objective world. They are instruments of no value in regions of experience where comparisons are impossible. Still, consider a few illustrations. Maitreyi, one of the foremost devotees among women, compared the mind of a devotee to a still lake. That is to say, all agitation is stopped. The mind becomes inactive, ineffective, so to say, worn out into nothing. Kapila Maharshi, speaking of the same devotion, compares it to a flowing stream. Streams and rivers like the Ganga and the Godavari flow uninterruptedly, without rest or any other thought, toward the sea. So too, from the very moment of birth, the devotee yearns to reach the sea of the grace of the Lord. Devotion is that unbroken relationship. Whatever the task on hand, whatever road is trod, the mind dwells on the goal alone, the goal of attaining the Lord. Again, in the Devi Bhagavatam, it is said that the devotion is like a flow of oil from one vessel to another. This is more or less like the image of the river. Shankara characterizes devotion differently in the Sivananda Lahari. Like the piece of iron that is drawn toward the magnet, the individual soul, Jivi, is drawn toward and attaches itself firmly to the Lord. All modifications of the mind get merged in the feet of the Lord. Also, Ramanuja explained that devotion as well as meditation done through love are essentially the same. Though each interprets it differently, all interpretations are correct, for they are all based on actual experience, which cannot be negated. These statements do not exhaust the type. There are many more, for devotion has 1,000 forms. It flows along 1,000 streams to reach the ocean of the Lord's grace. The goal of all the forms is the merger of the individual soul with the Brahman, an absorption in total bliss. This also from Prashanti Vahini. So where Swami is talking about this avichinnanu ragam, that unbroken bliss of affection or attachment, loving affection to the Lord. So Swami says the people who give up Vedas means they don't think about what is right, what is wrong, what the Vedas have told. Because they're so engrossed in the Lord without any other thought. They are given up the Vedas. Okay, and it's not that they give up the Vedas and then they give up the Vedas only because they have continuous thought of the Lord. This is what Krishna is saying, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Praja. Me alone you take. Then Aham Sarva Papyavyo Mokshayishyami Masuchaya. Okay, so he says, don't worry about anything. You just hold on to my feet alone. That will take you across, because ultimately the devotee has to at one point give up even that thinking, oh, this is right, that's wrong, and the thought will be completely engrossed in the Lord. That's also practice, not giving up the Vedas, but practice of holding on to the feet of the Lord at all times, in all ways possible, is what this sutra says. So that is also a practice. That practice is ananya chinta, means no other thought. That through that, if the Vedas are given up, no problem. That's the way Swami is saying, because that person attains everything. Okay, because that person fully attains that state. So that practice also a sadhana of a devotee is what Swami says. We will go to the next sutra. Satarati satarati sa lokan starayati. Satarati satarati sa lokan starayati. Satarati, satarati, sa lokan stharayati. In terms of pronunciation, there are no aspirated consonants in this. We'll just look at the sandhi splits. Saha tarati becomes satarati because of sandhi, because the visarga is dropped. It's called lopa. That means visarga is dropped. In this case, satarati. Okay. Again, it's repeated. Saha tarati becomes satarati. So this set statement is repeated. I don't know whether you remember a few sutras before. There was kastarati, kastarati. Who can cross? Who can cross? So the answer for that question was contained in all the sutras in between, and now the final statement is made. Satarati, satarati. This is saha tarati, saha tarati. That person crosses, that person crosses. Saha, he. Lokan tarayati. Here also there's a sandhi. This saha also becomes sa. Lokan tarayati, the in and ta, when they come together, another letter is added, which is is. So that's how you get lokan tarayati. So in this type of sandhi, an additional letter gets introduced. So you'll find wherever the anuswara sometimes joins, you will get an additional letter, which is generally, which is added. So lokan tarayati. Okay, that's the sandhi again. Separated is lokan and tarayati. We look at the meaning, word to word meaning. Saha means he. Yaha means whoever. Saha, the answer is saha, he, that person. He or that person. Tarati, crosses. That person, saha, tarati, that person. He crosses. Whoever has, so whatever has been described here, nirdvandva, avicchinnanuraga, all that. So whoever has attained those will be able to cross. Okay. Then one more statement is made. Lokan tarayate. Lokan means the worlds. Lokan, the worlds, mankind, all the people in the world. Tarayati makes them also cross. Not only that person crosses, he can make the entire world cross over. Whoever has attained these states of, or who has practiced these sadhanas, not only they themselves cross, they can help everyone else around them or the world itself cross. That's what this statement is. At the end of this sadhanani, all the sadhanas, we will just read a couple of excerpts from Swami's discourses. Illness is the inevitable result of idleness and indulgence. Health is the inevitable consequence of a tough, hard life. If everyone decides to carry on all personal services themselves, rather than depend on the servants or helpers, the health situation will definitely improve and hospitals will have much less work. Keeping the mind fixed on God and good ideas and things also helps health. Keep the ear, tongue, hands, and feet under restraint. Don't read enervating or exciting stuff. Don't attend film shows which exhaust or inflame the mind. Don't lose faith in yourself. You are the divine encased in the body. Contentment is the base tonic. Why inflict on yourself the disease of greed and consume tonics to get strength? And to hanker further, use the body as a boat to cross the ocean of life with devotion and detachment as the two oars. Actually, whatever we have read, Swami has compressed here. See, Swami says we should neither have idleness, I mean not doing anything, indulgence, doing things for the sake of enjoyment. Both should give rise to illness. Okay, that is karma, vikarma, all that. Akarma is if everyone decides to carry on all persons, this is you do everything yourself, you will be healthy without depending on anyone. Then Swami says, keep the mind fixed on God and good ideas. This akarma, our thought should be always fixed on God, identifying that we are the Atman. And then Swami gives very specific examples of what we should do, what we should not do. And that, Swami says, will help us cross the ocean of love, which is devotion and detachment. Okay. Love for God, giving up renouncing the world and everything. Do not spend much thought on the body. Some people worry always about health, and they are never satisfied with the care they bestow on the body. Be in the sun. Let the sun's rays penetrate into the home. Let them fall upon the body for some time. Let them warm and illumine clothes and food. That will suffuse them with health. There are some who are puzzled at the sight of a hospital here. They imply that everything here should be done through some miracle or some strange, inexplicable manner. It also implies that no one who has come here should fall ill or die. I have no desire that you should live or fear that you may die. It is you that decide your condition. All have to die sooner or later. No one will be anxious to have the same dress on for years and years. Death is but the casting off of old clothes. When even avatars leave the body after the task is fulfilled, how can man be saved from inevitable dissolution? The hospital is for those who believe in the doctor and in drugs. It is faith that matters, that cures. It also serves to accommodate those who are ill to move about, but yet come over to this place for cure. Those who are in the hospital will also hear the pranava, the sankirtan, and the bhajan, and benefit by the spiritual vibrations that fill air in this Prashanti Nilayam. So this is a discourse which Swami gave in 1969 when the hospital was established. Swami says, giving the explanation why that hospital is built. So as you can see, Swami has established hospital. He says he doesn't worry about people dying, and he doesn't even hope that people live. Of course, we individuals may want, but Swami says he doesn't have. And people shouldn't think whoever comes to Parthi will not fall ill or die. That Swami says it's in your own hands, not in his hands. Nor he does, because it's all related to the body. He is only related to our progress towards the Atman, our progress spiritually. So Swami is emphasizing that. Because we give lot of importance to hospital, Swami hospital, free hospital, super speciality. All that was to teach people how to run a hospital, how to take care of people who are sick, not necessarily for anything else. That's why he didn't establish hundreds of hospitals. He doesn't have to. It served a particular need for a location, so Swami is nicely explaining that. One more excerpt I have, so let's read that. The realized souls, Jivan Muktas, are like lighthouses that point out the way to ships caught in blinking darkness in mid-ocean. The spiritual lighthouses show the way to those who struggle helplessly in the thick night of ignorance. All are born out of the womb of the one Lord. Just as many varieties of fish and crabs and aquatic creatures move about inside a big tank, multitudes of human beings move about in the sea called Lord. It is indeed a very awesome scene. Some are undeveloped, some underdeveloped. They swim around greedy and selfish. In the midst of this crowd of ignorant beings are a few highly developed souls, the wise jnanis and yogis. Since they are mixed up with the ignorant crowd, it becomes difficult to distinguish the wise from the others. A microscope is necessary to identify the red corpuscles in the blood. Similarly, a special microscope is needed to find the wise. This creation and the wonder with which it is filled is really a source of amazement. But considering present conditions, there are very few who watch for the light and are guided by light. So instead of following this person or that, and taking devious roads and getting lost. It is best to place full faith in the Lord Himself and rely on Him as the only mother, father, guru, and guide. Then you will never lose the right path. He will never direct you to the wrong path. To have that firm faith and that experience, one must take to meditation. That is the one and only means. It is enough if the name and form of the Lord is meditated upon with love and faith. And you can choose the name and form that you like most. So this is an excerpt from Dhanavahini. Because that word Lokan Tarayati, sometimes we may think, oh, others are there to help us. So just because, even though the statement is made, we should all rely on God directly. So I thought I would just use this. Though Swami has started saying that the Jivan Muktas are lighthouses, they can show the way for others also. But each individual has to do their own part. I think that's the last excerpt. This is from the first World Conference, Sri Sathya Sai World Conference held in 1968. So, nice discourse. You are engaged in discovering solutions to problems, arguments to overcome doubts, means to prevent new problems and fresh doubts from arising. Such exercises, which all conferences relish, cannot help successful navigation across the sea of spiritual endeavor. These are but frail contrivances, these discussions, resolutions, speeches, and regulations. The world is much too stormy and agitated to be quietened by these. This is the time for cool, calm contemplation, not quick, passionate speculation and hasty decision. You need to contemplate once again on the eternal lessons laid down by the sages of India's past. Lessons that have been neglected and cynically forgotten in recent years. The suggestions and solutions that come out of the discussions today are all good, so far as they go. But how can a person who cannot himself swim teach others the art? How can one whose granary is empty pour out in charity? So Swami, these are deliberations during a world conference. People come up with resolutions, regulations, and all that. Swami says this actually will not help. One has to learn to swim oneself before helping others to swim. So that's the thing. Acquire the wealth of devotion, fortitude, and peace before venturing to advise others how to acquire them. Bharat, India has suffered slights and disregard as a result of spate of teachers who have not cared to practice what they teach. I know you have the enthusiasm to carry my message among the people of this country and other countries. Let me remind you that the best and only successful way in which you can do it is to translate the message into your own lives. Your thoughts, words, and deeds must be saturated with the message. Then they will spread effortlessly and efficiently, and the face of the world will be transformed. The presidents, vice presidents, and secretaries of the Sathya Sai organization from all over the world are here. You are officers of the Sai army. How can you lead soldiers into the fray when you are not aware of the intricacies of warfare? When you are yourself inefficient instruments? You can attempt to lead others only after practicing the disciplines to perfection. This is true of all fields of human activity. Ananda, bliss, and prashanti, supreme peace, have to be acquired first by you and then can be communicated to others. Teachers in schools have to themselves to be examples of what they require the pupils to be. Men in authority who exhort others to follow the paths of love and cooperation have themselves to practice those virtues. The people are now not willing to be led. The leaders have no capacity to lead. Progress is the result of mutual trust between the leaders and the led. The unrest that is rampant now in all sections of the people everywhere is due to the irresponsibility of parents, teachers, administrators, and leaders. as well as those who hunger to benefit from them. Namasmarana is one of the basic disciplines to which this conference is paying great attention. The scriptures say that in this age of materialism, it is the one hope for man. Tukaram sang of the Nama Ratna, the precious gem, the name. So you should not brush aside the names as a piece of glass or a pebble. There was once a boy who picked up a precious gem bright and round and used it for playing marbles on the road with his comrades. A merchant dealing in precious stones chanced to pass along that road, and his discerning eye fell on the gem. He approached the boy, took him aside, and offered to pay him 50 rupees in exchange. If the boy could know the value of 50 rupees, he would have known the value of the gem. He went to his mother and told her that a stranger had tempted him with 50 rupees in return for the marble he played with. She was surprised that it was so costly, and she said, "Do not go out of the compound with it. Play in the garden with your friend." When the value was revealed, limits were set. The merchant had no sleep that night. He was planning to secure the gem from those simple folks so that he could sell it at a huge profit to some millionaire or Maharaja. He discovered the house of the boy and moved up and down the road hoping to see the boy. When he saw the boy play with it as if it was as cheap as a marble, his heart was wrung in agony. The boy threw it on the floor. His mother emerged just at the moment from the inner apartments, and it struck her foot and fell under a bush. He spoke to the boy, asking for the gem in exchange for 100 rupees again. For 500 rupees, the son ran into the house in tears, complained about the stranger who will not let him alone. The mother came out into the garden and begged the merchant to go away. The merchant grasped the chance. He told the mother that he was ready to give 1,000 rupees on the spot if the marble was placed in his hand. On hearing this, she forbade the child to play with it outside the house. He could play only within the rooms. The merchant could not be shooed off like that. He appeared the next day in front of the house. He held 10,000 rupees as his offer for the marble. The mother refused to part with it, but kept it now in an iron safe under lock and key. When the merchant came the next day with 50,000 rupees, she took it to a bank and deposited it in their safety vaults. You are also playing marbles with the name of God, unaware of its value. Once you realize its worth, you will keep it in your hearts of hearts as the most precious treasure. Know that the divine name is the key to success in your search for consolation, confidence, courage, illumination, and liberation. Swami has equated Namasmarana, that we should take it not too lightly. The Namasmarana is nothing but having this unbroken stream of love for God. Only the unspoken stream of love for God will keep us with that devotion. We will not be able to sustain the Namasmarana if we do not develop that unbroken love for God. And Namasmarana will help us cultivate that. And that is the ultimate path for devotion and love. And also Swami has said, first liberate yourself, free yourself from it. Then that will spread the message for the rest of the world. So I think those are very practical instructions for us. Practical instruction which comes out of this Satharati Lokan Starayati. Sa Lokan Starayati. So that's the sutra which we looked at. I hope it was useful and beneficial to understand the sutras. So with those, I will stop here. If there are questions, I will answer if I have the answer. Otherwise, we can. Yes, Sister Aruna.
Sairam, brother, the next Saturday class, please. Are we having the class on Saturday?
Okay, next Saturday is Swami's birthday. Because I will be a little away in another city, so I will not be able to have the class. But if everyone is willing and would like to have a class, because it's 23rd of November, I will try to accommodate for half an hour because first half an hour I can have one sutra if necessary. If others people want to take the day off, that's also fine with me. So I will leave it with everyone because I won't be able to conduct the full 1 hour tomorrow, next Saturday. Sorry. If everyone wants me to unbroken, we can do for half an hour. That's my offer. With that, I will stop. Saira. We can do a poll if anyone.
It's okay, brother. Then we'll have the half an hour one.
You'll have half an hour? Okay,
Yes,
we'll have
please.
half an hour.
Okay, so I'll send the communication out.
Okay,
Thank you, Saira.
Saira. Sairam, everyone. Then we'll close the session with Samastaloka. Saira. Om Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sairam, everyone.